Hi, I'm Caleb McGrady, and I will be presenting the Hershey College Intramurals final project for ENGI 360, along with my partners Virginia Corsini and Jessica Neal. We'll have a problem introduction, a team member introduction. I will present Phase 1 and the Phase 1 demonstration. Virginia will present Phase 2 and the Phase 2 demonstration. Jessica will present Phase 3 and the Phase 3 demonstration, and we'll have lessons learned, challenges, and conclusions.
Our problem for this project was that Hershey College is starting an intramural sports department. The board of directors has authorized and funded the program creation, and they require regular sports reports to ensure proper use. We have been hired to develop and maintain the database that will manage the department and produce the required reports. For this project, Caleb McGrady will be presenting Phase 1, I, Virginia Corsini, will be presenting Phase 2, and Jessica Neal will be presenting Phase 3.
In Phase 1 of the project, the intramural department is preparing for the first semester of operation, and Mariana Fuentes has collected the data needs of the entire department. She wants us to create lists for each of these needs, and each list should have a descriptive column name. The first part of Phase 1 wanted us to make a table with the contact information for each student. So if I go ahead and run this query, this is the table that comes up, and you can see each student with their contact information. Next, we needed to create a query for the coaches that have multiple sports, and so if I go ahead and run this query, it will give all the coaches' ID and the sport name of coaches that have multiple sports, which there were 2 of them. Next, we needed a query that would point out the students who either had a missing waiver form or a missing academic eligibility. And so if I go ahead and run this, you can see all these students either have an unchecked box in one of the 2 columns, or they could have it in both. Next, I needed to make a query that would point out the coaches who and their assigned teams and the different information about each of their teams. So if I go ahead and run this, you can see the coach's name, their sport name, and then the minimum maximum players and the starting date. This next query would take all the students and group them if they were either eligible to play or if they were not eligible to play, depending on their academic and waiver status. And so you can see this will group all the ones that can play at the top and the ones who can't play at the bottom. So you can see this 1 means that they can play, and then these 0s mean they can't play. Next, I needed to make a table that would list all the students that were unapproved to play, which would make it easier on the people in charge of the intramural department, and this would be the table that would be produced. Then I needed to delete these students from the regular student table, so the regular student table would only contain the students that were able to play in the intramural sports, so this is that table. The next query would list all of these students who had already registered for a team, and it would list the team they were on and their assigned grouping. And if I run it, this is what shows up. So it has their student ID, first and last name, and their team ID. The next query would list the students who had registered but had not been put on a team yet. And so if I go ahead and run this, you can see that there's no students listed, and that is because all the students in the database currently are on a team, but this query was mainly thought to be used later when students would register and didn't have a team. So that's how that would work. This query lists the team captain assignments for each team and will order them by their team ID. So if I go ahead and run this, you can see all the team captains and their ID, and then the teams are ordered by their sport. The next query would update the field table to show availability for the summer season. So when I go ahead and run this, it'll give me this error. And then if I go to the field table, you see all these blanks will mean that it is available for the summer, which it was working previously, but now it seems to not be working. But all the blanks mean it can be used in the summer. Lastly, I needed to create 2 queries on my own with helpful tables for Mariana Fuentes. So the first one I made was coaches in sports with maximum player amounts. And so to run this, see there's only 4 coaches who are with a sport that has a maximum number of players. The second query I made would show the field maintenance contact for each of the intramural fields, which could be helpful if there was a problem. And so here you can see I ordered it by the number for the maintenance contact, and that shows who you should contact if you need maintenance for your field.
The next part of our project involved making forms for Carla Stockman to be able to review all of the data in an organized, readable manner. So first we had to create forms for all of the tables that are in the database, and each of the forms had to have a logo and the contact information of whoever's ID might be on that form. These are what the forms look like. Here we have the coach form. The next form is the equipment form. Then we have the field form, which also has a maintenance ID. So then I included the full name and phone number of that maintenance person. This is the maintenance personnel form. And then we have participation. The sport form, since it has coach ID, I included the name of that person and their phone number. And then we have the student form. And this is the team form, which shows the captain ID and then the contact information of that captain. Next is the navigation form. Carla Stockman wanted us to create a navigation form that made it easy for her to go between files and data to be able to see it more easy instead of having to search through the forms. And she said that if this was able to be done, then it should be done for the student, coach, and personnel. Here is the navigation form. Here you can see there are 3 tabs with the student form, coach form, and maintenance personnel form. Next is the team details. The team details that Carla wanted to see were the team ID and name of the sport, as well as information about the coach, the field, the equipment, and the students participating. Here you can see the team details form, where you can see the team ID, sport name, and each of these tabs has the information that Carla wanted to see. Finally, we have an edit on the coach form that Carla wanted. She wanted to be able to see the teams that the coach would be coaching, and she also wanted there to be a button that would add a new coach to the forms. Here's the coach form again, and as you can see, there's a button. If you click Add Coach, then it goes to a blank form where you can input a new coach. This also shows the teams that each coach coaches.
Next, I'll be presenting Phase 3 of our project. So in Phase 3, I'm creating several reports and some labels. The first report is designed to give the details of each purchase made by the coaches. Report 2 is designed to summarize the purchases made by the coaches. In the third form are labels that display the details of each equipment purchase. So first we'll look at the coach purchase detail. So for this report, it's grouped by the sport, and it shows the sport, the coach's name, and all of the purchases made by the coach. Right here it has the amounts of each purchase and the total spent down here at the bottom. Also, we have the percent of the budget spent right here and the amount of budget remaining of the $700 allotted to each team. Also, a way that the report was formatted was for coaches that spent over their budget, the amount was formatted in red, as you can see here. For the second report, it is very similar to the first one, just it's a bit of a summary. So here we have it's grouped by sport again, and it has the total spent, the percent of budget that was spent, and the remaining budget. And it is also formatted with the amount spent over the budget in red. Finally, we have the equipment purchase labels. Here at the top is the order number, and this is the coach's ID number, the coach's name, and below we have the purchase details and the amount of purchase. So during our time on this project, we learned several things. We learned how to develop SQL queries. We used some new SQL keywords, learned how to use navigation forms, and learn how to design quality forms. While working on this project, we have several challenges. So for phase 1, there were many difficult SQL queries that required table combinations, unions, table alterations, etc. For phase 2, a challenge that we had was having to create new queries for forms. And for phase 3, specifying the red font for negative numbers was difficult.
In conclusion, this was a complex SQL project. There was a lot of stuff that we had to query that we weren't exactly sure of to begin with, but after doing some research and working around in Access a bit, we got it all figured out. Some of the results were challenging to obtain. This is because they weren't perfectly laid out in the instructions. We had to look around and play around with Access a little bit to figure out what we were really doing. But in the end, we were able to learn many things from this project while struggling to create the correct queries, forms, and reports. In the end, we were really happy to present our results to Carla Stockman for Hershey College's sports program. Thank you for watching our presentation.